In our first story, the president of the Kolebu Senior Staff Association, Charles Ofei-Palm, has been interdicted by management of the hospital.
Ms. Ofei-Palm's interdiction follows renewed allegations he made against the hospital's management on an Accra-based radio station. He is said to have re-echoed claims that the hospital's board and CEO have mismanaged finances, leading to a shortage of drugs and other essentials. Currently, leadership of the Senior Staff Association is in court seeking to declare a disciplinary process to sanction them as now void. There will be more definitely on this issue later on here on our show.
Let's look at this very ongoing issue about the 3 South African ex-police officers who are in the country now deported. As just around the same controversy, lawyer for Captain Edmond Koda, head of private security of the New Patriotic Party flag bearer, has hit back at government and the Interior Minister, accusing them of peddling falsehood.
Nana Asante Bediye insists a statement released by the minister, which described Captain Koda as corrupt and a man of violent propensity, can only be further from the truth.
In a counter statement issued by lawyer Asante Bediye on Tuesday, the lawyer said the statement earlier by the minister was nothing more than a palpable falsehood in a bid to link the MPP and Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo to violence. Captain Koda is being investigated for bringing 3 ex-South African policemen to Ghana to train security details linked with the New Patriotic Party's flag bearer Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his vice presidential candidate. The suspects were accused of illegally training the MPP security officials. They were arrested, slapped with 3 charges and hauled before the courts. The court, however, granted the suspect bail, but the Bureau of National Investigations defied the court's order and kept the suspect in detention until they were deported to South Africa, even though the court case was still lingering. Captain Koda, who was also arrested for allegedly bringing the 3 suspects into town, also had his fair share of tussle with the Bureau of National Investigations. He was subsequently detained for 96 hours, contrary to the dictates of the Constitution, which only allowed for a 48-hour detention. On Monday, the Interior Minister issued a statement, part of which described Captain Koda as a corrupt jailbreaker and a man who attempted to destabilize the state years ago. About 400 indigents of Mwase in the Wenchi municipality of the Bonafo region have petitioned the Regional Security Council and the Attorney General to help them get justice for an assault they suffered sometime last year.
According to them, they were brutally assaulted by some elders of the town in 2015 for refusing to accept a newly installed fetish priest, an action they deem a violation of their basic human rights.
On January 2, 2015, a mob led by some elders of Nwase attacked and banished members of the Dadiasi family. During the attack, houses were burnt, people were severely beaten, leading to injuries and deaths. An official complaint was lodged with the Wenchi Divisional Police Command, and the case ended up at the Wenchi Magistrate Court. According to the victims of the attack, the court is yet to hear the case 1 year on. The 400 people who are now perching with friends and family in Wenchi, Techiman, Brekum, and Iwisa said the Nwase elders have banished them from entering the community. Asamoah Setre speaks for the group.
On the 2nd January 2015, mob action was taken by the same elders of Nwase, led by Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo Nwase Hene. Nana Tami Abrimpoma Nwase Hema. Nana Kofi Tribua Abrafo Hene of Nwase. Kofi Afina Sana Hene, alias Kofi Karam. Kwabraje 4 of Nwase. Ochami and Kwabo and 1 Kojobafo. All of Nwase assaulted we, the petitioners, and drove us away from Nwase town for failing to accept one Nana Kofi Afina as the new fetish priest of Nwase.
The Dadiasi family head, Nana Safueje, who became unconscious as a result of the attack, broke down in tears when recounting what happened that fateful day. The Kuntihima of Nwase, Nana Maijapoma, was also a victim of the brutality. She says her livelihood depends on her 3-acre cashew farm at Nwase, but now she is prohibited from entering the community. Nana Maijapoma therefore appealed to government to help them return to their hometown and live normal lives again. Nesta Kafui Ajomes report.
Interesting reports that will give you a lot more updates in the course of the program or the rest of the day in regular programming on the channel. But also a communal conflict is looming in the Laura district of the Upper West region over the siting of a government community day senior high school.
The school is currently earmarked to be built in the town of Bo in the eastern corridor of the district, but the neighboring town of Domwene says the land allocated for the school is theirs and are insisting that the SHS be named after their community rather. Our Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam visited the area and now reports.
Domwene and Bo are two communities located close to each other in the Lara district of the Upper West region. Apart from their closeness to each other, indigents from both communities are related by blood ties and have been living peacefully since the days of yore. However, the peace that exists between the two communities is not being threatened due to government's plan of siting one of the new community day senior high school at the eastern corridor of the district. All four communities in that enclave appear to have interest in the siting of the facility in their communities. The Lara District Assembly then set up a committee to look into the issue and find a suitable place for the siting of the school. The committee, after visiting all the four communities, settled on a parcel of land located between Domwene and Bo and recommended for work to begin. Martin Bawachelano Dominic is the assemblyman for the Domwene electoral area.
What I know is when they went, it was the Domwene people who showed the land. But unfortunately, the name of the school came in the name of Bo. So Domwene people immediately petitioned the president through the regional minister, saying they are not objecting a senior high school to that particular community. But if it was on their own shown land, the two communities, this is the first time I'm seeing something different. They were like one. If you know one, single one, that was how it was. But it looked like the community entering about development have not been done properly.
Bawachelano now warned the situation could degenerate into a communal conflict if the authorities fail to act faster on their petition.
The minister should get the paramount chief and the DCE and some stakeholders should meet these two communities. If they meet them, they meet the Tendangma. I don't think there will be a problem.
His opposite number at Bo electoral area, Bid Pencil No, however, downplayed his threat.
It was when they were trying to obstruct, that is what I would say, that they went over to, after we had shown our piece of land, and they also went the other way around and went and showed another piece of land that was close to ours. I can see that it had entered our place. So they showed their place and Bo also showed their place. So I'm surprised. I'm very surprised that they will say that that piece of land is for them. If it is, then we are coming back to the district assembly, because it was the district assembly that set up the committee, and that committee went into the matter and brought the report to the district assembly.
Meanwhile, the Laura District Commander of the Ghana Police Service, ASP Benjamin Samani, said his outfit was already aware of the tango between the two communities.
For now, I can boldly tell you that I've monitored as a police commander the situation there, and it's relatively calm. And we are still monitoring. Should it be anything, we'll give you that.
Despite a threat of a looming conflict between the two communities, the contractor is on on site, and work is already progressing steadily.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Laura.
Well, let's turn our attention to some other stories. And Ghana's performance when it comes to enforcement of anti-corruption laws has so far been described as poor, despite the many brilliant laws that exist to fight the canker.
One of the key reasons for this shortcoming, according to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, is the addition of the power to prosecute to that of the Attorney General. Speaking at a review of Ghana's implementation of the UN Charter on Anti-Corruption here in Accra, Anti-Corruption Advisor Samuel D. Jega explained the decoupling of the prosecutor's function from the AG is critical if the country is serious about improving its anti-corruption credentials.
The review of Ghana's obligation under the ANCAC in 2013 saw the country being given credit from some successes and good practices used in the fight against corruption. The ongoing review seeks to discuss and focus more on criminalization and law enforcement, as well as the country's commitment to cooperate with other states to fight corruption. As it stands now, the UN's anti-corruption advisor, Samuel D. Jega, believes a lot more work needs to be done enforcing the laws.
And which looked at the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Now, there's a number of issues that can be improved in terms of the fight against corruption. There is some offenses that have not yet been criminalized in Ghana, for example, illicit enrichment or corruption in the private sector or corruption of foreign public officials. When it comes to the institutions, there's also a recommendation around more independence for prosecution power when it comes to corruption cases, and that is to ensure that there is more efficiency and effectiveness in prosecuting cases. So when you look around the region in West Africa, most Anglophone, in fact all Anglophone countries in the region, they already have anti-corruption authorities with prosecution powers. That is the case in Sierra Leone, in Ghana, and also in Nigeria. So there seems to be no good reason why also in Ghana there couldn't be an anti-corruption body with the appropriate prosecution powers that would be independent, or at least to have some sort of independence when it comes to prosecution of corruption cases.
The President's advisor on corruption and governance, Daniel Batidam, agrees decoupling the AG's office from that of the Minister of Justice could help the country fight corruption more effectively. He, however, says government will need more time for that to happen.
Our reality, which is that we have an Attorney General who is also the Minister for Justice. Some think that is not the best if we wanted to move forward with prosecution in a manner that will, in the eyes of the public, be, apolitical, which I also agree with. But the point is, it is a process. It is a process to either decouple the AG's office from the Minister for Justice, which is one way of looking at it. Others have recommended, as I said, the having an independent prosecutor.
Meanwhile, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice says government has made significant strides in the fight against corruption. She highlights ongoing investigation into the National Service Secretariat corruption scandal and the JIDA scandal, where government has been able to retrieve over 50 million cedis.
Currently, the prosecution of several corruption cases are ongoing. There's the case of the ghost names on the payroll of the National Service Scheme, where 35 officials, including a former executive director and his deputy, have been arraigned before court. And already we have 8 convictions in that case. 130 others are being processed for court, and these are the district directors involved in that stand. There are also the cases involving JIDA, where the former national coordinator and the CEO of one of the service providers are being prosecuted for fraud and causing loss to the state. Sums of money totaling over 15 million Ghana cedis in this JIDA case have been retrieved to the state. And with the passage of the Youth Employment Agency Act of 2015, Act 887, measures have been taken to install strong systems to ensure probity, transparency, and accountability in the agency. The Youth Employment Agency is the new GIDA, as we are all aware.
However, acting Shraj boss Richard Quayson has a different priority in the fight against corruption. He stressed that government must prioritize funding to Shraj and other public accountability bodies like IOCO.
If we do not have resources to do the work, no matter how good your team is, no matter how anxious you are to carry out your responsibilities, if the resources in terms of funding to be able to carry out these duties are not there, it becomes very difficult for us to do our work. We are not supposed to be probably the last institution to be considered when it comes to funding.
Do you see that coming?
Well, I believe that it's a matter of all the stakeholders understanding why the Constitution insists that it should be a first charge. Because otherwise, if we are waiting for what is considered priorities of other stakeholders before we are considered, then we may never get there. So the Constitution says that it should be a charge. In other words, prioritize the funding of charge to be able to do it.
The two-day conference is expected to propose other legal reforms that are necessary to bring the anti-corruption legal framework in line with the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. At the end of the conference, key consideration will also be made on the Witness Protection Bill 2015. Matilda Pamagan for Joy News, Accra.
Residents of Adina, a fishing community in the Ketu South municipality of the Volta region, continue to defecate on the beach, though a public sanitary facility has been constructed for the community.
The facility was constructed by a group following a Joy News report on the phenomenon on its flagship program, Clean Communities, in 2014.
The My Community team visited the community and threw the spotlight on the community's lack of sanitary facility and how people are contracting cholera and other field-related diseases due to open defecation. After the expose, a group of Adina residents living in Accra, New Genesis Group of Adina, decided to construct a public sanitary facility for the community with support from some corporate entities. A 10-seater water closet facility was constructed to that effect at the cost of about 100,000 Ghana cedis. The chief fisherman of Adina said Abuchi was grateful to the group and added that the provision of the facility would contribute to reducing the outbreak of diseases in the area.
Because we defecate in the open, anytime there is an outbreak of cholera, our community is hit most. We were very happy when Adina residents living in Accra informed us on their decision to construct a sanitary facility for us. We gave them our support to ensure we put a stop to open defecation in the community.
Unfortunately, open defecation is still rife in the community. An elder in the community, George Kofi Dushi, said residents need more education to stop the practice, promising to champion that cause.
This might be a new thing, a modern thing. You know, we are not accustomed, not all of us are accustomed to this sort of thing. They are so used to open defecation. So it needs education, which we have to educate our people about it. Normally, if they go to wake up in the morning to fish, they may not come here to defecate before going to sea. So it's education. We are going to educate them on the value, importance of the use of the toilet.
Said Abuchi assured that any resident caught using the beach as a place of convenience would be punished according to the Assembly's bylaws. He believes when residents are made to face the full rigors of the law for using the beach as a place of convenience, the act would gradually fade away.
The law doesn't allow us to defecate in the open, and if anyone is caught in this act, he or she will be made to face the Assembly's bylaws to serve as a deterrent to others.
Fred Kwame Asara's report for Joy News.
Let's turn our attention to the subjects of the economy, well, particularly about leadership of management of the economy. As the Bank of Ghana Governor, Dr. Henry Kofi Wampa, will retire this week he said on Tuesday, cutting short a 4-year term during which he has struggled to keep inflation and also stem the decline of the national currency, the cedi.
Dr. Wampa, whose term officially ends on August 5, told Reuters he had informed President John Mahama of his intention to leave by the end of this month, adding the decision was partly linked to presidential and parliamentary elections planned for November. Well, the governor has revealed to Joy News that one of his 2 deputies, either Melicin Nah or Abdul Nashiru Isa Haku, is expected to serve as interim central bank governor until President John Mahama chooses a permanent successor. President Mahama appointed Wampa amid serious fiscal imbalances caused mainly by election spending in 2012 and a burdensome public sector wage bill that complicated the bank's task of managing the money supply. Dr. Wampa responded with a string of monetary policy reforms, including tighter foreign exchange liquidity management to slow inflation. The bank held its benchmark interest rate at 26% in its latest rate decision last week.
Well, wish him well, and we'll speak to a lot more people, and especially the economists and critics of the way the management of the economy has been about his performance in office.
But you know, he's been in the spotlight recently, not because of our fiscal issues, but because of his son-in-law. Because of his son-in-law. His son-in-law is that British man involved in this cocaine. Yeah, is it Smith or is McDermott? Well, that issue is still in courts. There'll be more on this, but as Roland said, we definitely wish him well. When we come back, we've got some of your messages, and then we'll review the newspapers and touch on a few of the news portals.
Do stay on. We'll be right back.